Good evening, and welcome to Beyond the Grave Reviews. Today we are talking about the 2011 movie Dangerous Method by David Cronenberg. In the recent years, David Cronenberg has done many excellent movies, such as History of Violence and Eastern Promises. Dangerous Method is a movie that has all the right ingredients to be a masterpiece, but somehow doesn't quite get there. Let's talk about why that happens.
Why is this movie made? Is a question that should be asked before you do a movie. If that is the question that comes to the viewer's mind after seeing the movie, it is possible that something has gone slightly wrong. A Dangerous Method is a movie that I personally enjoy, but the overall story of the movie seems quite unfocused. We follow three characters who are all based in real life persons: Sabina Spielrein, Carl Jung, and Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud is, of course, the developer of psychoanalysis who worked as a mentor and collaborator for Carl Jung for a few years in Jung's youth, and in those times this movie focuses. This collaboration itself would have been worth in its own movie. However, in the center of this movie there is a story of Sabina Spielrein, a very interesting character who suffered from hysteria, which was a very accurate medical term that could mean pretty much anything in those times, about 100 years ago. Jung managed to cure her, and she studied to be a doctor in Zurich University, which wasn't something that was possible in all universities in Europe. That was quite rare at those times. She became a doctor, had her own clinic in Geneva, moved to Russia to start a psychiatric hospital for children, and faced a quite tragic end when Germany took over the city where she lived and shot her along with her family. All this would make quite an interesting movie. She was a very interesting character, but it is a shame that almost nothing of the things I mentioned you will learn from this movie. The movie begins strongly with Jung treating Spielrein in the hospital, who soon becomes Jung's assistant, and we are introduced to the character of Sigmund Freud. However, after a strong start, the movie starts to take a quite rapid downhill, as if someone has unblocked it and its battery begins to die. I watched it only a few days ago and have seen it several times before, and still I have a hard time remembering what actually happens in it. The final image of a Jung sitting alone by a lake, now pregnant Spielrein saying goodbye to him, leaves at least this viewer very much untouched. However, there is much to enjoy in this movie. The script might be mediocre, but the direction, cinematography, and wardrobes are all joy to look at. And acting is mostly top class. Michael Fassbender is excellent as Young at the beginning of his career, and Viggo Mortensen shines as a very humane Freud. It is a role that could have, in the hands of a lesser actor, been a harsh caricature, but Mortensen is charismatic and even empathetic, which is quite rare for Freud. The scenes that these actors share are easily the highlights of the movie. There is something quite satisfying in the scenes where these two sit in a Freud study, smoking cigars and pipes and clashing their intellects. But where the movie fails, I think, is Keira Knightley portraying Sabina Spielrein. It's very hard to define what makes an actor good or bad, but there is something a bit strained, a bit wooden in Knightley's performance that isn't as convincing as it should. Her story should be in the center of the movie, as she worked with both Jung and Freud and has a very interesting character arc. So it's a real shame that the movie presents her so bluntly. The fact that the script is dry as a sandpaper doesn't really help much either. We have some real life based scenes, such as Jung and Freud fighting over the matters of the occult in the Freud's office, which doesn't make much sense in the movie's context, as there is nothing else occult going on. At the same time, there are some imagined scenes, such as sweaty BDSM moments with Jung and Spielrein. Some of the movie's key moments, such as Jung and Freud ending their friendship, happens over characters reading letters, which doesn't really make very thrilling cinema. Overall, I find the movie quite entertaining, but at the same time, I see it as a huge missed opportunity. It's a bit like you had a massive piece of sugar cake in front of you, all chocolate and tasty, but when you bite it, you find that it is completely empty inside. What a shame.
So to sum up, this is a movie that has many flaws, but personally I still do enjoy it. It has many great elements in it, and if you have any interest towards any of the characters of the movie, I highly recommend it. So thank you for watching this review, and hopefully I see you next time around.